Picture this. You're not just fixing cars, you're living your passion every day. At Cox, you'll work on a diverse range of automobiles. Surrounded by a team of friendly, like-minded individuals, you'll enjoy great pay and benefits. Ready to make this a reality? At Cox, we're recruiting auto and diesel techs to join our Mannheim and Fleet Services teams. Learn, grow, and fine-tune your career as a technician at Cox. Find out more at cox.careers/autotech.
Welcome to ATT Live, January 14th. I'm Braden.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Agent Anderson.
And tonight, we got special alien hospitality correspondent, Agent Anderson, joining us from All Things Weird. Man, quick shout out before we start the show. Andrew is currently in Detroit, living the dream. Living his childhood dream, going to a Detroit Lions playoff game, and he's going to get to witness the refs screw the Lions in person. So that's a huge, huge thing. So, big shout out to Andrew out there in Detroit, probably sweating bullets right now because it's a close game. But yeah, we got tons of stuff this week. First and foremost, I wanted to touch on, you guys see about these New York tunnels? What's with everyone digging tunnels lately?
I heard about that.
It started off like this whole no permit tunnel thing. I blame there was like a TikTok girl that was trending a little while ago. She was she just started digging underneath her house.
It's actually not far. That's not far from where I live. Actually, the area that she lives in. Yeah, it's not.
And this lady has taught herself welding, like electrical. She's like completely dug out underneath, and she has this like booming TikTok channel where she's digging up these layers. And I kind of first caught wind of this where they're like, hey, you know what? This chick's gonna get fucking roasted as soon as they find out she's digging tunnels underneath her house with no permits. And sure enough, she did. And that was like 2 weeks ago. That was like all the rave, like, oh, tunnel girls shut down. They dug up her house, shut down. And then it's like, I
was like, well, that's how sinkholes get made.
They're shoring all sorts of stuff. And then all of a sudden, like a week later, after, all of a sudden someone must have been like, hey, we're cracking down on these illegal tunnels. Because the next week, underneath a Jewish synagogue, it was trending on Twitter that, they had found all these like illegal tunnels that they have dug under, New York, to the point where I guess it's like, it's some of the structures and guess are compromised that they're saying. They're like, they don't know yet the extent. Police have made some arrests. We have no idea what the tunnels were for, if it was where they lead. Far right groups, far left groups, everyone's, raving one way or another, letting their imaginations run wild, but we really have no idea. But the reason I bring this up is because the greatest thing I think I've seen on X in a long time is about a year ago, there was this guy on X, and he made a comment, and he was like, I hate to even say this because it's going to sound racist, but there's Jews digging under my apartment. I can hear them at night. And like, this guy got fucking torched, like absolutely torched, being like, oh, you're racist, you're anti-Semite. And he just came back like a year later, and he's like, a lot of people owe me an apology. What do you guys think's going on there? Have you guys dug into it, seen anything about it?
Yeah, actually, I think they released a couple statements about addressing exactly what the tunnels were for. Apparently, I think it's even funnier when you find out the reason why they were digging those tunnels, because apparently there's like a dispute between two Hasidic Jewish sects that about the ownership of a certain synagogue, of one of those synagogues. And it's been going on for decades. Like there's been court cases and stuff like this about how they like who owns what and like whatever. They have two very different philosophies about their views on their religion. But like apparently that synagogue has been in dispute for, again, decades, and that people like digging these tunnels were trying to like, it was apparently what they said was like a younger, like I guess it was a couple of younger guys within the community, and they like were trying to gain illegal access to the church. But I'm not exactly sure, like you said, I'm not exactly sure the extent of the tunnels. Like from some of the reports, it's really not that much. It's just like, it's more just like an extension of a room. Like they had dug underneath like a basement, like a floor level room that was already there. And they dug out like a little, like kind of like 8x8 room or something like that. And then, but yeah, they had known about the tunnel. Apparently, like it's been a couple weeks since they had kind of knew about it, and then the city engineers had gone in to be like to assess. That was what the Twitter video was apparently of the whole brawl within the synagogue. People like throwing chairs and stuff,
throwing pews and stuff. Like it was pandemonium. And I mean that story is a much better story than the story you'll read on any social media site about this. You know,
and it's just like I can imagine.
Unfortunate time for that story to break.
Yeah, and I can imagine just like I can imagine anybody in the Jewish community just being like, "Oh my god, like, are you serious?
This is not
it's like not the time. Like, this is not the time for this. It's never the time for this because it's like, oh,
this is one of those. This is one of those scenarios where like any press is not good press. You know, like, holy, let's fucking
like they're just like, it's like we just got over it. It's almost like we almost just got over like the blood libel days from like the Roman Empire, and it's like, oh no, we're gonna smash right into this and be like, why do you have to do this? And it's strange because I guess the from what I understand, like the Hasidic Jewish community is like they're like a not extreme, but a more like a traditional conservative Jewish group. They're people I think I saw comparing them to essentially like the Amish. Like they're kind of like they're really conservative and, you know, in their views and how they adhere to their religion and their tenets. And it's just like just these two guys, these two sects of like, they used to be one and then they broke up because that one of them thought that their, like, I guess one of their religious leaders was the Messiah, and then they broke up over that. And then they were like, okay, like who owns the synagogue? And then it went to court, and the court said, no, these guys own it. And then, and then they were just trying to dig a hole to like get into it for some reason. I'm not sure why, but it's like, they had to put out an entire statement about it, apparently, like from that community, and they're just like, this is bad. We know.
It has nothing to do with kids. It has nothing to do with kids. And then everyone's like, all right. And you're like, oh, there's nothing we can say. No one's believing anything anymore.
Yeah, I guess they knew about the tunnel since December, like last December, I suppose. And so it's just like, they had ordered an actual cement truck to fill those in, fearing that the building would be structurally damaged or compromised in some way, like from that tunnel. So it's just like,
we got a couple of people in the chat chip it into the old beer fund. I changed the beer fund, and I mean we don't have to get a green screen for Andrew, but I've always thought we should get a green screen for Andrew, even though he would most likely use it to take a picture of his gym and then have the exact same background via green screen. But that's what I'm raising the money for this tonight. If you want Andrew to get a green screen, so helping pitch into that is Rusty Mill and John Jacoby. Both of those guys, jumping in to help out.
If you're trying to look at Mongoose gym,
yeah. The other news, one of the other news I want to talk about today is Corbell, first of all. Corbell's, huge UFO guy, and he's been releasing the most important 3-part discovery of mankind on the most reliable, or produced by the most reliable news coverage from the people who brought you Depp First Heard, TMZ.
I thought you were going to say the Weekly World News for a second there.
Yeah, I know. Honestly,
second most.
Second most, yeah. I thought that was so interesting. I'm like, did literally everyone passed on this except TMZ? Like, and you're touting it as like the most important scientific discovery. I'm like, you couldn't even get the History Channel on board?
TMZ is known for its hard hitting, and it's like first to the punch. Sometimes they were actually one of the first ones who broke the Kobe story, like back in when that happened. For my just like kind of going over it a little bit, it's like I think TMZ is like, they check their stuff. Like they're pretty good at like breaking news and stuff. I'm not sure how Corbell rolled it in with them. I mean, Agent Anderson, you've seen some of Corbell's stuff, right? Have you watched some of his documentaries?
Yeah. Well, the only one I've seen is the one with the Area 51 guy. And it was
Bob Lazar.
It was okay, but I thought Corbell spent a little bit too much time on himself. You know, especially in the beginning. I would have liked to seen more about the actual topic at hand. But
well, if you didn't like that, then you wouldn't like that 3-part series that just came out.
Yeah, a lot of shots of himself.
I don't know if it's like become his signature or something, because it's like it's the I've watched that one. I've watched Corbell's Bob Lazar one, which is the one that came out, but I also watched the other one. Was the Patient 47. Was it Patient 47? Was the other one with what's his face? Dr. George, is it Lear? Dr. Lear? The alien implant guy.
CE5.
Yeah. And you know, it's a lot of like what he does. There's a lot of scenes of him, you know, talking on the cell phone. Like he's got the speakerphone on his little iPhone. It's just like walking around the room and talking on he does that. He does that in this documentary too, in a bunch of scenes. And it's just like, okay, that's cool.
Dan, hands free, I think we can all agree is important. Right? You don't want to be caught, you know, fucking phone in your hands when you get some breaking UFO news.
But the whole thing was teased. It was teased with the jellyfish, what they're calling the jellyfish UAP footage. So as far as that's what kind of came out when they kind of announced that they was putting out that 3-part series like this year. That came out with that. So there's this great. I mean, I don't know. It kind of blew up over the UFO stuff, where there was I guess Corbell shared the footage on his YouTube channel, and it was a October 2018 sighting that was taken apparently, according to Corbell, near a U.S. Joint Operations base in Iraq, and then according to Corbell, like this object is actually officially designated as a UAP. When he talked about it on the thing, he said that this. He had talked to people who were familiar with the sighting, and they said that this, at some point, I guess it displayed like transmedium capabilities, like going into the water and then coming out at great speed.
Well, it also looks transparent at some points. Like I have it on the mini player here. If you're watching the live stream, at times it goes transparent, then it seemingly just passes through objects. It's very interesting,
right? Because it's shot with a thermographic forward-looking infrared radar like camera, so it's like it's all thermal, and like watching the thing kind of cover goes across the screen and they kind of follow it. The clip that they have there, I don't see the transmedium thing. I don't think that happens in the clips that have been circulating. I don't know if there's a longer clip somewhere that has not yet to be released. I thought that was the whole reason I went through that documentary, was like I thought there was a longer piece of that clip in there.
Well, and that to me, it looks like one of those droids from Star Wars. Like that's what it looks like.
Imperial probe droids.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the ones that like
Hoth.
fly around.
Yeah,
and
the probe droid.
Yeah, probe droid. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
People said that. They said it looks like a Zerg overlord. Like it looks like a bunch of things that people are just like, yeah, you know, people have been zooming in on it, stabilizing it, putting it through the ringer of every type of imaging software you can think of at this point. But most of the people have been through. It's really hard.
Someone in the chat said that's bird crap on the camera.
I would put that up there as plausible explanation for that thing, because I was like, it looks like a little schmutz on the screen where it's just like it doesn't move. It doesn't move, and people saying like, oh, it's changing color, it's changing from cold to hot, but no, like that's just the way that the thermographic camera is like calibrating. Like it's it just changes color with everything in the on the screen. So I'm not 100% convinced that this is some kind of like cloaking organic jellyfish UFO or something like that. It's hard for me to be like, no. When I look at it, it doesn't really do anything. It just sits there and it doesn't like People say it's like it looks like it's rotating or something. Like I can't.
I don't know if I see that.
I don't know if I see
don't
that
know if I see
either.
the
It
rotation.
just looks like something's got stuck on the screen and then kind of like a bug ran into it, like smacked into it or something. But
yeah, it's an interesting one. You could definitely sell me on that one quite easy. As it's something on the lens because you never see it. Like you never see it backtrack. Like it moves with the lens.
yeah.
Like with the frame of the lens, you see it like that. It's kind of tracking the same motion. So I never thought about that invalid ID. That's good. Good pitch.
I just and I would just the thing that Corbell says is that this thing apparently at some point displayed the transmedium capabilities, but I don't know where that is, and I don't know if there's like a longer version that was supposed to release. Again, I went through that documentary. If you were under or if you were living under a rock, or you just weren't really into the UFO, like the UFO stuff of last year, I would say go ahead and watch it because it's just like a UFO roundup of 2023 and like a greatest hits.
It's like all the hits.
It's UFO hits from 2023. It's got the Grush stuff in there. He's got a couple interviews where they're just like clips of him on Joe Rogan. And a couple other news interviews. Like it's it. Like
it's just he's just like nonstop bragging and he was on Rogan.
Somebody said it was just a big Corbell like freaking just like circle jerk because it's just him. Yeah, it's just him like kind of doing his thing, and you're just like, okay, like I can't fault Jeremy Corbell for putting in the work. Like, he's obviously doing stuff. He's on all these everything, and he's being putting the stuff out there in the news. So I'm not gonna, my personal feelings aside, he is contributing to the UFO dialogue as far as I'm concerned.
In the chat here, we had a couple more donations to the Andrews green screen. One from Teabag. Sup, Teabag? Thank you. He's usually at work, so he's stoked that he gets to catch a live stream.
Groovy.
And a nice little super chat donation by Distilling for a Living. Thank you for pitching towards getting that green screen. The only other thing I wanted to bring up before we throw it over to Agent Anderson is those little Mexican cake babies that we said 3 years ago were a hoax have been confirmed a hoax. Who would have thought?
But not those specific ones because the ones that okay. God damn it. This story just gets weirder the more that you look into it because you're like, okay, the headline is like, alien mummies in Peru are dolls made of bones. You're like, okay, like we heard of that before. Yeah. But these specific ones that these Peruvian scientists like studied and pretty much said like, no, like they scanned them and they're like, no, these are made from paper mache and animal bones or something. These apparently just mysteriously turned up at the airport in Peru's capital last October and like a DHL box. Like they just showed up, I guess, like, and nobody knows where they came from. Like it's just like,
yeah, and it's a mix of human and animal bone, and I was like, oh my god, this is terrible.
It's not even. I just like, where did you find these things? You're just like these, and you don't know if these are the same ones that Jaime Maussan presented to the Mexican Congress last year. Like, I don't know if those are the two that it could be those ones. I don't know where those ones are right now, so I have no idea. So it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I guess Flavio Estrada, who's an archaeologist of Peru's Institute for Legal Medicine and Forensic Sciences, went over these and said they're not extraterrestrials. They're just basically dolls made from animal bones and then put together with glue.
Animal and human, yeah. And it's like, and some human bone. And I was like, I hope. Well, either way, I was like. Ugh.
Yeah, they just showed up in a DHL in a cardboard box, and I don't know if they went through customs or like what the hell. It just popped.
Someone just dropped them off, man. They needed a new home. It's like when you drop a baby off at the door of the firehouse, right? There you go. Someone else will take care of you now. Yeah, it's wild. Called it. We called that. Agent Anderson. What do you got for us?
I got a good one for you guys. Have you heard of the Place Bonaventure Hotel UFO from 1990?
No,
it's a good old Canadian sighting from Montreal. So a little.
It's called Montreal.
Is that how you say it?
I don't know.
Montreal.
I think that's how French. I think that's how French Canadian people say it. I don't know. We have a couple confirm or deny.
So this was a mass sighting where you had lots of witnesses on top of a hotel and surrounding the hotel, and all throughout the city actually saw it. And you had all sorts of different witnesses. It wasn't just tourists or people in the hotel. It was, police officers, journalists. And the really cool thing about this case is there are a couple of photographs of the UFO. So that makes it a little more compelling in my opinion, even though the photographs weren't taken until it had started to get cloudy. So they're not like crystal clear, but they still show more or less what people described that they saw. So we're talking about November 7th, 1990. And our event starts at 7:30 p.m. A woman who is an American tourist is swimming on the rooftop pool, which is pretty awesome, right? I mean, I've never been on a rooftop pool, but I got to admit, I'm a little jelly. So she's swimming up there.
I've been to one.
Okay.
I've been to one. It's a good time. It's a good time. There's something like that just makes you look down your nose at other people once you've been in a hotel.
Because you're
like
you're literally on the roof. You're literally on the roof.
Yeah, you're like, huh. Right? So it is. There's a special feeling when you get out of that pool where you're like, I've made it.
I am morally superior than
then they're
everybody
like,
else.
Sir, yeah, your checkout time was an hour ago. You have to leave.
Actually,
do you have your hotel card, sir? Do you even stay in here?
I saw one where they had like a pool connecting two buildings and the bottom was glass. I'm afraid of heights,
cool.
so no thank you for me on that one, but it looks cool though. So there was an American tourist, a woman, swimming in the swimming pool. I couldn't find her name anywhere. She's one of a lot of people with this case wanted to stay anonymous. She was the first person to see the UFO from the rooftop. She sees it overhead and she gets alarmed and she goes and tells the lifeguard. She says, hey, you're going to do something about that? And lifeguard says,
He's like, what the fuck you want me? It's not in the pool. It's out of my jurisdiction.
Exactly. So the UFO is oval and yellowish color, and depending on which witness description, it had different numbers of lights. We won't go through all the witness descriptions because we'll do a condensed version a little bit. But yeah, so the lifeguard on duty, who's known only as Mrs. LSP, and I preferred
Lumpy Space Princess.
Exactly. That's how I think of this person, but.
My God, it's a UFO.
You gotta die about it.
Oh my God!
My son's actually been watching a lot of that lately. It's a really fun show.
It's a good show.
I enjoy it.
It's a fun show.
So the lifeguard, of course, says, well, what the hell am I going to do with that? So the lifeguard notifies the security guard. And the security guard, who's probably on the first floor,
he's like,
going up
what
the
the
chain.
guy?
We're
Is
going
it in
up
the
the chain.
hotel?
Exactly.
Is it in the hotel? It's not my jurisdiction.
Exactly, yeah. So he comes up.
Tabernacle.
The security officer comes up about 7:35. He makes it up. His name is Albert Sterling. And he watches it for a few minutes and he says, well, I don't know. So he calls the MUCP, which is the Montreal Urban Community Police. I'm guessing.
Yeah, because in the community, it's out of our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So he calls them and they say, I don't know, whatever, guys. We'll come over, I guess, if we get a chance. Yeah. He also called the Dorval Airport, which is their local airport, I guess, but the phones were busy, so he couldn't get through to them. Now, around this time, the lifeguard called the La Presse newspaper. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but
Le Presse. Yeah, Le Presse,
like
I think.
That. Also,
I didn't take a lot of French in
I took
school.
0. I took German. I can pronounce stuff in German.
So what you're saying is I'm the expert in the French.
Yeah.
So it is Le Presse.
Yeah.
I think it is
All right.
Le Presse.
Well, you're the authority, so we'll have to go by your word.
Yeah.
The lifeguard also went into the hotel and got some guests and other people that were there. And she said, hey, come on and check this out, guys. And we don't have an exact, hour by hour count of the people, but at some point there was over 70 or 80 people on the roof of the hotel gathering up there and watching the UFO. Sounds like a party out of, like from Mars Attacks or something, everybody's getting together. And just how cool would that be if you're chilling, on vacation, a lifeguard runs in and says, you got to check this out. You go out there, there's probably a bar up there.
Cannonball!
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like a good time to me. So at 7:35 or so, the object had moved a little bit, and people say it was over like the southeast corner of the building. And at that point, there were already 12 people out there. By 7:55, the object had become a lot brighter, and they called the police once again because they're like, hey, this thing's still here. We don't know what it is. Could you come check it out, please? At 8 o'clock, I'm just going over, timeline here. 8 o'clock, a journalist from La Presse, who's Marcel Laroche, arrived on the scene. Then finally at 8:11, Officer Francois Lippe of the MUCP arrived. So that's finally when we get the authorities on scene, but he didn't know what to do. So of course, he called more authorities. He called the RCMP, and eventually, I have it down here in my notes, I forget, but eventually the military and intelligence, Canadian intelligence, showed up on the roof as well. Around this time,
I love how they're like, hold
Yeah.
on. Like we could see it from the ground, no problem. There's rooftop
Yeah.
pool party. We're coming up too. We better. You just get like this like nonstop stream of like different agencies. Like I imagine like music's playing a little bit. They're like, oh yeah, there it is. All right.
exactly.
Hotel's like 2 for 1, drink special. Let's
It was
go.
17 stories, so it was like closer to the UFO a little bit, slightly. They had to go check it out. They were investigating. So around this time, several witnesses said that they saw a light aircraft like a Cessna fly under the cloud layer and under the object. And this is a really interesting data point because we know what altitude that Cessna was approximately. So that gives us at least a minimum altitude for the UFO. And I forget the exact calculation. It's further down in my notes, but that gives us an estimate to the size, like a range for the size. Mr. Laroche is the one that estimated that it was about 1,200 feet, and he said that it looked minuscule in comparison to the UFO. There was later on, somebody received a letter saying that their friend saw the object between 7:30 and 8 o'clock from his small airplane, but the pilot in question did not want to be interviewed, so we don't know if it was the same airplane or not. You know how it is with these things. A lot of people don't want anything to do with it, and rightfully so. If you know the history of UFOs, a lot of people have caught a lot of crap for seeing something weird.
Well, especially pilots. I mean, I think the history of like pilots being like, I seen something up there. They're like, and you're grounded.
Yeah, this is still 90s. Like the UFO stigma is still in full effect. Like that,
yeah. So yeah, like I could see that makes total sense that someone would be like, no, like let's.
Probably also pilot like
say my name.
Probably pilot didn't want to be interviewed because like, well, how drunk were you?
Yeah.
How much maple syrup were you carrying in your plane, sir?
Smuggling it over the border.
One shot. So one Sergeant Mason arrived at 8:30, and he was overwhelmed by the object. So he called the RCMP at 8:44. And investigator Luc Morin. These are some really great French names, I feel like. Luc Morin. I wish I could pronounce that correctly.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You got to get a little gurglier on it though, like Luc Morin.
It's like gargle some water or something. I don't know.
Add some extra vowels in there, and put all the vowel sounds inside the name.
Yeah, like the French language I hear is like a beautiful language, but like Quebecois is not.
It's dirty French.
It's a little dirty French. Yeah, dirty French.
That urban French from the rough streets of Montreal. At 8:52, Officer Lippe was able to get in touch with the control tower from Dorval Airport, and they told him that they didn't have the object on radar and they had no idea what was going on. So that's a pretty important piece of information, because if it was some sort of terrestrial craft, like let's say a dirigible or something, then they would probably find that on the radar for sure. So we know it wasn't, something normal, I guess, unless it was hiding from the radar somehow, which I don't know how it would do it, but who knows. Now at 8:30, between 8:30 and 8:45, Laroche went back to his car for a camera, for a 35 millimeter camera, and he attempted to take a picture, but he's not a photographer and it didn't come out good. It's incredibly difficult to take a picture at night. So he calls. Yeah, what's up, Braden?
That's always difficult. That's always like I mean, even today, you go use your phone at night, you're like, it's terrible. I can't see shit.
So he called the photographer that worked at the newspaper, who gave him some instructions, like to lay the camera on a bench for stability and put it on a long exposure. And he was able to get 2 pictures of the object, which I don't know if we can do a screen share or something, but it's available online. If you just Google Montreal 1990 UFO. The picture will come up probably in the first link or two.
It's the one with the three lights. It almost looks like three
and it kind of looks like foggy.
Kind of. Yeah, I have a picture of it on the little sidebar here for people to see. I've had it sitting up there. It is like it's a fascinating one. You're like, holy, look at that picture. Like they all kind of look like they're canted, like in different directions, right? Like it doesn't look like they're pointing straight down. So whatever this is, either these lights are coming off the bottom of an orb.
Yeah. But it's interesting because it matches what people said they saw. And it was taken by, a pretty reliable source. A reporter is unlikely to hoax something like this. So it's a genuine photo of a genuine UFO. Was it aliens? I don't know, but it's still, a lot of fun that we have a photograph. It's very rare, I found, to have a photograph of this quality for any of these cases.
And the other thing is like, because earlier on they were talking about like the cloud cover they had a clearer look at it. Because if you're looking just to the clouds, and I know Dan's probably thinking it's first thing, Dan, I can read Dan's mind right now. You want to tell you what Dan's thinking? Strip club spotlights. That's what Dan's thinking, right? Spotlights from all the strip clubs.
Strip clubs first, and then lights.
Right? But the thing is that people reported seeing it earlier enough that they were like continually calling people up. And the picture is snapped after kind of cloud cover rolls in through the city. So it's, that's an interesting bit to me that it just hovered there and stayed. Like, I have a feeling like if it was spotlights or something, anything, you'd be like, oh, now they're moving. You would very quickly put it together that spotlights. But this fooled, like you said, countless people. You got sergeants, this has gone way up the chain. It started at a lonely lifeguard, right, who couldn't deal with the problem. And it's gone all the way up to the military, right? They're checking radars. So, like, they were obviously thought it was something other than spotlights, because I feel like right away someone would have been like, spotlights.
Yeah. And it kind of looks like that, but people said before the clouds came in, the early witnesses who were there first said they saw an actual object, not just lights in the sky. So we don't have a picture of that, unfortunately, but they have no reason to lie about that, I imagine.
Well, no one's, especially in the 90s, cameras weren't waterproof. You're not bringing the camera to a pool party. It's your last thing you're going to do, right? So you're up there in your towels and your martini. What are you going to do? You can't do nothing. Like, you're not going to snap a picture. So it's insane that we even got this one. And it is not a bad picture. Like, it is mysterious.
It's pretty good, yeah. It's a pretty good picture.
Yeah.
At 9:40, what's up? Oh,
go ahead.
At 9:40 p.m., an Air Canada pilot made his way up to the roof and gave an estimate. He thought it was about 8,000 to 10,000 feet high. Now, you don't have a frame of reference, so it's very difficult to estimate the height of something in the sky. But a pilot probably could do a better job than anybody else. So that's a somewhat useful estimate, even if it's probably not all that accurate. Around this time, Officer Lipe had a really great idea. So there was a commercial building in the area that was, I think it was right across, that was actually doing some construction, and they had a bunch of work lights on. So Officer Lipe contacted the foreman over there and said, hey, could you guys turn off your lights to make sure that's not, reflecting off the clouds or some kind of weird anomaly or something? They turned off the lights and the UFO was still there. So we can rule that out right away. And that was great that he had, the mind to do that. Otherwise, we would always wonder if that was something to do with the work lights on the building across the way.
So they were active. See, that even points to me that they were actively looking for, like, could this possibly be a light source? And they're going through the trouble of having people. It might be that. Yeah. Shut it down. Nope, it's not. Like, that's wild to me. It makes it so much more interesting.
Yeah. So it shows that they were actively investigating it while they were there too. They were calling people and looking into things. They called the military, and the military said, nope, it's not ours. We have no idea. We don't have anything going on in the area. And it would be unusual for the military to do some sort of experimental craft flyover a populated area anyways. Not impossible, I suppose, but it seems unlikely.
And just a hover, though, like just to sit there
for hours. Yeah.
Like hover. Yeah. Like that seems like it'd be way too long.
So let's see. The object remained until about 10 p.m. when the cloud layer got really thick, and then people could no longer see it. What did it do? Where did it go? Nobody knows. But they saw it from about 7:30 to about 10 p.m.
Even the cloud layer getting thick and then that making the lights disappear kind of points to me that this wasn't light source on the ground, right? Because like if the clouds get thicker, you think you would still be able to see, the light source illuminating it, in some level. So it does point to me personally that this is something above the clouds, like above them.
If you look at the witness testimony, including police officers and people like that, who I feel are far less likely to hoax their descriptions, we have a bunch of multiple independent witnesses all saying that they saw the same thing, and they're seeing a structured craft hovering above the clouds, and eventually the clouds obscure it and it disappears. It's a pretty compelling sighting, and we have a photograph of it.
And there's a question from I think he said his nickname, so I'll just use his nickname, Brian Boner. He said, "What do we know the size? What was the size? Was there?"
There is an estimate size, and we reached that estimated size based on the focal length of the camera lens and the angular size in the sky, and we can also combine that with the estimated altitude because we had a light aircraft fly under the object. So we have a range of estimates that we can do. From what I'm not like a math guy, so I don't know how to calculate this myself. But from what I understand, it's just a best guess, but it's a guess that's probably in the ballpark, right? So let me scroll down to where I have that guess. Here we go. So based on the available data, the estimate is that the object was in the ballpark of 1,700 to 4,500 feet across. So it's really big.
Substantial. That's
gigantic.
Pretty big.
I don't know that we have anything we've ever put in the air that's 4,500 feet across, but that's on the higher end. But 1,700, maybe, I don't know, a blimp or something. I doubt it. That's pretty big.
Yeah, is this just the Goodyear blimp?
Right. Which it looks weird. Blimps do look weird at night.
Where was it located?
Where was what?
Where was the blimp at this time? We gotta track that down. Where was the Goodyear blimp?
You never know. It's possible, right? It could be maybe they were over like an atmospheric aberration that magnified the thing or something. I don't know. So that's, in a nutshell, that's basically the sighting. There's a couple of other sightings in the area that night as well. Like, for example, Pierre Cow-Martin was driving home from work between 10:30 and 11, and he saw some very odd lights and strange luminous objects in a boomerang shape. So it could have been one object, he's not sure, low in the sky about the level of the clouds. And the lights were so bright, they illuminated the inside of his car. He went home and he watched the object hover near the Hydro-Quebec power station, and he heard a purring sound and believed the object was a dirigible, with only the gondola visible below the clouds. He witnessed the craft for about 10 to 15 minutes. Now, interestingly enough, the Longueur Point military base had a power outage between 11:08 and 11:50 p.m. Is it connected? Who knows, but it's still kind of weird. So we have, I don't know, that's like a whole other sighting, because the one above the hotel was not reported to be boomerang shaped, but who knows?
Well, the boomerang shaped one's an interesting too, because I did a Cosmic Challenge where someone from Australia claimed to see the repeat boomerang looking crafts that had like bright lights on the bottom side of it. So it's like these crafts have been seen other side, and I know I've heard and seen other descriptions of that similar thing. So it's fascinating. Like, to me, maybe the boomerang one, maybe that's ours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, okay, scramble our secret one.
Right.
All right. We're gonna fight fire with fire, right? They're here. It's time to toss up our, all of our best stuff. So maybe this was something from coming up from the States, flying up to take a peek at whatever this was.
And
because I don't think that would be uncommon. It's not like we have, the best Air Force up in Canada here. I'm sure we would be like 100%, come on up, take a peek, boys. We just got a Cessna and an Air Canada doing circles in it.
Well, and I have proof that this is a real incident from a branch of the Canadian government itself. This is a coin issued by the Royal Canadian Mint commemorating the event. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of, so they wouldn't put out an official coin. See, it's even got the queen on the back. They wouldn't put the coin out
Yeah.
if it was a fake event. So that proves that it's real right there.
And those are awesome. The Royal
Yeah.
Canadian Mint, they have some of the coolest collections. They do a lot of actually UFO ones, like of UFO cases in Canada. They'll like mint a specialized coin. It's super phenomenal coin. How'd you get so lucky to get it? Did you order it online? Because whenever I try, they're always sold out.
Yeah, the mint itself is always sold out, but I don't even know where I saw this, but that's how I found out about this case is through the coin. And I saw it online, and I saw it for sale from a Canadian coin shop. I think it's called the London Coin Center. And they were selling it actually for less than the Canadian Mint had it listed for. So I think it was like, let me take it out of the case so we can see it better. I think it was about like $110 or something. So it's not something I would do every day, but I thought it was just so cool that I had to get one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
it's a fun little piece of UFO history.
Yeah,
if I ever saw one.
And it's a really good, I don't know, good quality craftsmanship or whatever. You see, it's like textured and stuff. And if I had a black light, which I don't, when you shine a black light on it, you can see the UFO. It kind of lights it up. So
it glows it. Yeah, that's
pretty cool,
man. Yeah, and Uncle Slam in the chat says Royal Canadian Mint makes some
They
badass
do.
stuff.
Yeah, they really do.
It does. Like, yeah, if you just go like hashtag check it out, like it is, they got some cool stuff. Like UFO stuff aside, they got some other cool mints.
So that was, I had to show that because it was just a fun random thing I had that just so happened to be having something to do with this case. But yeah, so that's
such a cool way to find a case too. You're like, what's this coin? Is that real? And then you look it up, you're like, shit, that is real. That's wild.
It's pretty cool. I've actually done all of them except for one of them. All of the cases. I think the Falcon Lake, there's the Yukon sighting, there's this one, there's what's the other one? I don't know. There's a couple more, but I've done all of them except for one. So I think there's 6 total.
the Royal Canadian Mint line of episodes. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal, Casey Brown. You just set the bar for special correspondence.
As you guys better bring it next time. Whoever's coming on next. Oh, just one more thing. Just a correction. You said my show is All Things Weird. It's actually All Things Strange. Yeah,
strange. Sorry. My bad. Oh my god, I can't believe I did
it's
that. Sorry, buddy. It's because formerly AKA known as Alien Conspiracy.
You should be able to find it wherever, Apple or Spotify, wherever you guys listen.
Yeah, go and check that out. Now, Agent Anderson, while you're here, we had some people asking in the chat, what do you guys think about the Miami Mall incident? We've kind of shared our thoughts, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts. What do you think of the Miami Mall incident?
Well, I've seen the video, and I didn't find it all that convincing. It does have some kind of interesting little tidbits that kind of catch your attention, like the police presence seemed to be overwhelming, little overkill. But on the other hand, if people were reporting gunshots, then they would, of course, think it's a mass or err on the side of caution. So they would just, they did that code 3 or whatever. Everybody in the city showed up. But then there are some witness statements saying they saw shadow creatures. I don't know if that's made up after the fact. There are some really compelling bits to the case. But as it stands, I haven't seen anything that convinces me personally. But on the other hand, who knows? Something might shake out sooner or later that changes everything. So it's one of those wait and see things as far as I'm concerned.
It's less convincing to me than that Las Vegas one we had a while back, which I thought was fascinating.
Which one was that? I might have missed that one.
That's one where it's like the people saw the UFO, the alien, and then like cops got called and the cops thought they saw something. They got spooked. And then like there was also it looked like a meteorite coming down that people filmed, like a green meteorite, like slowing down in the atmosphere, like above Vegas, all at the same time. So people were like, the alien crashed. It's running through the streets of Vegas.
I vaguely remember that one. Yeah.
Duchess of Doobie is saying, where's all the video? All those people, not one clear video. Well, it's a lot of AI videos out there. You can see all sorts of 10-foot tall aliens on
the best. Well, most convincing pieces of evidence right there.
But there's no videos of the supposed teenagers that were looting and throwing fireworks around either. Not that I've seen.
Yeah, it's true. It's no, me neither. And in fairness to people, if there was gunshots and stuff and everyone's scared running, The last thing a lot of people are doing is going
Right.
for their phone to be like,
I wouldn't be.
I'm gonna.
Because
No,
you
me
wouldn't be
neither.
near that. Like you want to be away from the gunshot.
Right.
Or whatever you thought was
Yeah.
gunshots, you wouldn't want to be near it.
So I saw some videos of people running and stuff, but that's it. Like nothing, you know. And just that one like grainy footage where at the front of the ball where they're like, it's walking right there. It's like is
Bad
it?
red circle.
I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
looking at. It looks like a helicopter
Yeah,
footage.
I did
So
not find
grainy.
that convincing at all. The video of the shadow creature. It looks like something.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's definitely something there.
It to be honest, it says something to me that, you know, every couple weeks here we get some sort of huge alien thing that just takes over the news. And that's recently, like, you know, I don't remember that even, you know, 2 years ago. And then going further back where this kind of stuff would trend all the time and like people are so interested. It feels like there's more of an interest now in aliens and UFOs than ever before. Maybe just because it's more in the public eye right
Yeah.
now.
I think we also have like News Nation has become now like the News Nation is, I think it's Hulu, like Hulu's like a news outlet. It's like their CNN essentially. And they have a bunch of people on there and they're the ones who pretty much, I think they were the first ones to have like an interview with Grush. And then they pretty much have UFO news like every month or so is usually their bread and butter. I think like they just kind of, they have that stuff on there, but I think them and like USA Today always, it always does seem like there's a UFO story, like just about whatever. I mean, there's the ongoing Grush saga, like that stuff happens, and I think
Oh yeah.
you had the United States Congress, you had the whole UAP caucus gang, including you had Representative Luna and Tim Burchett, and I think Alexandra.
Is that the one where they all came out and like they all kind of like had an interview after they came out?
Yeah, they had that was the one I was talking about.
Every single one of them looked a little like
Shaken.
I was like, yeah. I was like, what did they see in there?
Yeah.
Because every single person that got up and talked kind of had a holy fuck look in their eyes. It was wild.
Yeah, they all sat down in the skiff with the was it the inner what did I say it was? There's the
Grush just
not the
flashed
attorney
them.
general. The IC, what's his name? I can't remember the guy's name right now, but yeah, they sat down with a guy who was essentially like the guy who was kind of the point man on the whole Grush case, I believe, or Grush had kind of come to him at least with like his grievances and then also the information that he had broke. And so they all kind of sat down and did them specifically, like we said before, specifically to discuss the UAPs and the U.S. government's efforts to recover and or re-engineer, repurpose some of these UAPs that have been recovered. And like they sat in with that guy. But of course, like they sat in a skiff. So it's like anything that's in there is considered like top secret, like, you know, or secret to some extent. So it's, you just can't come out and be like, you know, tell us everything, Mr. Burchett, tell us everything that you heard in there. It's like, no, I can't.
Yeah. Well, and but like, I was like, we can all agree, like I would think that they were given some information that was quite impactful just based on how they all looked coming out.
I mean, it could have been
That was the
anything,
one thing
even if it
trending.
was just like stuff that's like, yeah, we picked up some stuff from China. Hey, we picked up some stuff from some other place. Like we picked up some really these things that are, even if it were just that, if it's something terrestrial, even it's just like,
Or even some sort of technology that they're like, this is terrestrial technology.
this is
of
some kind of,
foreign
you know,
nation,
this is some contractor
adversary
stuff or
we
whatever.
don't know, and they're just like, holy shit, we might be in trouble. Like, who knows? But they did all look like that was what was trending that I saw, is that they all were kind of like, had a look
I'm not
as if
all
they'd
sure.
seen some
I'm not
shit.
all sure if they all got like security clearances to go in there too, like exactly like what they were all allowed to hear. But yeah, there's probably going to be stuff about that. I think there might be more. I mean, there's probably going to be more hearings because people are still going to make people are still making noise about it. So it's like, it's mostly about now. It still comes down to like government oversight. So it's like you're doing all this stuff. So we'll see.
In the chat, we got Hillbilly. He's pitching into the beer fund or the green screen fund at this point. We got Giovanni. He's hitting us up. He says, watching since day one. Let's do some call-ins. You know what? If next Sunday, I could probably do a call-in or two. But if you want to call in Thursday night, 6 p.m. Cosmic Channel.
That's the time to do it.
That's all we do. That's all we do is take in call-ins. That's when I want.
And you got to get in early because Braden's just like crushing it. Like people calling in, the lines are packed now.
And there's some really good stories on there that you're never going to find online because people just don't publish them. Some of my favorite stories I've heard have been on that show. So people listening, definitely check it out.
Dude, my last week one, a girl called in, talk about how aliens have abducted her whole family, like her grandfather, her and now her daughter, and that she thinks that they took something from her daughter in an experiment. It was wild. I was like, holy, this is insane stuff. I can't believe I'm hearing it here. This is the first time you've told anyone. I was like, we need Dr. Leo Sprinkles here. Let's do some hypnotic regression.
And we need Andrew to play Dr. Sprinkles because he does a great job.
Yeah. Need Andrew
it's
as
actually
Dr.
a phenomenal
Leo
impression. You can call into Cosmic Channels Thursday nights, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Usually an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. The lines are really popping. But anything else before we shut down this live?
Well, I just have a real quick theory. So. You were talking about the government stuff, right? And when the Tic Tac video was released, you had this 180. Generally, before then, the government and the press treated the UFO topic pretty much just with ridicule. But after that, they did a complete 180. And I've always thought that's because they know sooner or later, with our advancing technology, how many exoplanets we're looking at, sooner or later, we're going to find life on another planet. Even if it's just like algae or something, that would still freak a lot of people out. So I think that this may be some sort of soft disclosure where they're trying to get people used to the idea before it happens.
Well, funny you should say that. Through some of my inner channels, through the back door, back alleys, the whispers, right through the web, through the Canadian Mint, through the webs, all the webs I've weaved. I've heard rumor that we might be getting some. And this is all I've heard. This is the rumor this is 100% rumor mill. We might be getting some very, very interesting, wild developments coming out of the James Webb Telescope in the coming weeks. That's what I've heard. That's the rumor. That's the rumor on the street. Whether it's true or not, whether we're going to see something, I don't know. But I've been stayed glued to the James Webb ever since, so it'll be interesting to see. But I agree with you. Everyone had their nose up at all this stuff, and then until they're like, the government came out, they're like, yeah, unfortunately, those ones are real. And then obviously everything kind of turned on a dime at that point. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see where it goes because, we'll see. Time will tell.
Interesting times.
Be interesting times for sure. If you want to support the show, you want to support Alien Theorists Theorizing, best place, Patreon right there. Choose your membership. You get hours and hours of bonus content in return for helping support the show. Or there's a little PayPal there. You just top up the beer fund or in the super chat like all these nice people have been supporting the show tonight. Listen, and if you're all caught up on Alien Theorists Theorizing, jump on over to Agent Anderson's show. All Things Strange. Hit them up with a 5-star review. Check them out. You'll love them.
I hope so.
Anything else before we go? That's it from us tonight. And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes on the skies.